Alright, welcome everyone. Well, my 2 followers so far. I decided to make a frittata today. Usually on the weekends, I get up a bit later, everyone in the house is up a bit later, and it's a nice way to share some food and everyone loves it. And I thought it's the perfect recipe for a kitchen sink recipe because you can literally throw anything in it and it always tastes good. So I'm not sure exactly what's gonna go in it this time. I did get a few things from upstairs. I stole some red peppers from my parents upstairs, or bell peppers, sorry. And I got some mushrooms and onions, but really, literally anything you want can go in this recipe. So feel free to get creative. So here we go. I'm gonna start with some onion and garlic. Onion. And 1 clove of garlic. Oh, you probably want to get your oven going for this recipe. So I set it to around 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And you want to get it, nice and hot. So when you throw your pan in the oven, you get a nice oven spring with your eggs. So first things first, some onion. Oh, and I forgot to sharpen my knife, which I said I always do. Also, when you have a sharp knife, you don't need to worry about crying when you cut onion. When you have a dull knife, you release more of the oils and juices in the onion, which is actually what makes you tear up. So if you have a nice sharp knife, less crying. And also just makes it way safer. You won't slip with your knife or anything and cut yourself. This has a bit of a blemish, take that off. You can cut it up really any way. I would say smaller's better. I'm gonna slice it this time. So you go with the grain, I guess, of the onion. I'm just gonna do it like in 1/2 centimeter slices. Just like that. And like that. A good cooking practice is to get everything ready before you start cooking, especially like a quick stir fry or things that are gonna cook quite quickly. You don't want to be running around grabbing things and then things overcook or you forget things. So it's good to have everything ready beforehand. Sometimes I don't do that if I'm going for a simple recipe, but generally I like to have all my ingredients prepped and ready to go prior to cooking. So get the skins off. Just gonna do a rough chop with this garlic. I'm not too picky about getting the ends off the garlic or anything. Some people are, but it's up to you. Very rough chop. On the side there. Oh, didn't get all the skin out. Amateur. Alright, what else should we put in? So we got some peppers, I know. I think I got some mushrooms back here. Yeah, I got some mushrooms. And I think I have a zucchini or 2. Yeah, I got 1 zucchini here as well. So that's what we'll do. We'll do zucchinis, mushrooms, onions, and peppers, which I don't know where they are right now, even though I stole them from upstairs. So this one as well, I'll just kind of roughly dice up. Zucchini cooks really quick, so you don't need to stir fry it too much before it goes in the oven, which you'll see. So get that there. My mom really likes mushrooms, so I think I'll do half of these. Do a couple more. Mushrooms you don't want to wash beforehand because they start to denaturalize pretty quickly once they get wet. So right before you start cooking or chopping, wash them. Some people are a bit picky about the stems of the mushrooms, these guys, but they find them a bit tough. But I think if you cook them down, or if they're not too old, I don't mind keeping them in. I'm running out of space here. I'll put these here. And my peppers. Where did I put those? I think they're probably in the living room. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're in the living room. Yep, there they are. Sorry for the mess. Got our peppers. I'm gonna get my stove going. I'm using a cast iron skillet. I just find it really holds the heat quite well, like the way it distributes the heat, and it just looks cool, and it has like a natural non-stick surface if you season it well. So it's really nice for frittatas. It gets really nice and hot, so when you put it in the oven, it also gets that nice spring. So that's what I'm using, but you can use really anything. Stainless steel might be a bit tough. It'll probably stick to your pan, but it could work. Or a Teflon pan that's oven safe as well. But anything that can go in the oven should work. You could also cook all your vegetables or whatever you choose to put in your frittata and then put it in like a casserole dish and then throw that in the oven. That also works. I've done that before. Just getting some of the seeds out. I'm not too picky about getting all these seeds out or cutting out the membrane. This is a very kind of rustic, simple recipe. It all turns out tasty and good in the end. It's just a rough chop of the peppers. Not really picky about sizes and things like that. The reason I'm using 2 cutting boards is because whenever I use onion or garlic, I don't use this nicer wooden one because the tastes or the flavors of these stronger vegetables or meats and stuff gets absorbed into I guess this might be bamboo. So I use this plastic one for garlic and onions and meats and things like that. I'm looking for a really big one, maybe like 2 feet by 1.5 feet, and that would always just stay here, and all like my clean cutting, I guess, like vegetables and stuff, I would just wipe it down quickly and maybe wash it once a week, so that would just always stay here. But I haven't found. Oh, I have found one, but they're quite expensive, so I'm still looking. But I might end up splurging on that. All right, so our pan's heating up. I'm gonna start with a bit of olive oil. You can use any vegetable oil, but a couple tablespoons there. And then I'm gonna start with our onions. I want it to brown a little bit. Some of the onions are hiding under the zucchini. There we go. I can smell the olive oil. Got a zucchini in there. That's fine. So give that about a minute maybe to fry off. In the meantime, we can get our eggs going. Frittatas are always good for the next day or two. You can heat them up or even eat them cold, kind of like a side dish. So I always make extra, and usually I do about, if I want extra, I'll do 2 eggs per person, and that usually carries over to the next day. But if you're doing it just for that day, I'd do about an egg to an egg and a half per person. It also depends how much other stuff you put in it too. So if you're putting in a lot of vegetables, you'll have more volume, which I am, so this is going to be plenty. Yeah, but I'll do 8 eggs for 4 people. That's 7 and 8. So our onions are browning a bit, starting to soften up. Get that going a bit more. I'll also add my mushrooms and garlic at this point. You can also season a bit at this point too. For now, I'll just start with, some salt. And a bit of pepper. It's not a very good pepper grinder. I need to get a proper one. And I'll also add a bit of, what's this, thyme? Sure, thyme should be good. Any seasoning really. I like thyme. It's a heartier herb. And my wife likes fennel, so I'll do a bit of fennel as well. The seeds, sometimes you bite on them, but they should soften up a bit. So you want to cook out some of the water especially in the mushrooms. They release a lot of liquid. You don't want this to be too watery when you add the eggs. So I'd get it going. Get the mushrooms going a bit. Now for our eggs, I always like to add a bit of salt, seasoning to my eggs as well, just so each bite you get nice seasoning. Or else sometimes you'll get like saltier or more seasoned bites compared to others. Especially since I won't be like cooking much in the pan itself. Most of the cooking is going to be happening in the oven with the eggs. So get a good mix. Doesn't have to be as well mixed compared to like a French omelet or something, but you want a pretty homogeneous texture with your egg. Something like that. So our mushrooms are cooking down a bit now. I think we're ready for the peppers. So you throw those in. So you always add your ingredients in order of how long they take to cook. Kind of obvious, but sometimes this point is missed. I sometimes forget that concept too, but you kind of want to cook it in order of how quickly they cook. So obviously onions, mushrooms take a bit longer, then your peppers a little bit shorter, and then zucchinis are quite quick. So I'm gonna just throw the zucchinis in last second. I'm gonna go grab some fresh herbs from the garden. It's quite wet outside today, so I might get a bit wet. We'll see. I think right now we just have parsley, cilantro, and dill in terms of herbs. So I'll grab parsley again. Yeah, they're growing a bit out of control. Where's this cilantro? Oh, that's cilantro. I guess we're adding cilantro too then. Anything you want, really. Yeah, we have a lot of parsley and cilantro, so we'll use those. We have a bit of thyme and tarragon here, but I won't use those today. Nice. Alright, let's get out of here. I'm not going to bother washing these herbs very well because we're growing them ourselves and they've been under the rain all day, so I'm sure they're nice and clean. Oh yeah, these are looking pretty good, so I'm going to add the zucchini at this point. So yeah, the zucchini probably just, you want to get rid of want some of the water to evaporate out of these vegetables, so zucchini probably needs another 2 minutes and then we're probably ready for our eggs. So, gotta get our herbs going. So in the other video I showed you how to shave these herbs. I'll do it again. So these herbs aren't as delicate as like basil, but you can't be too rough with them. But what I do is I usually get them in my hand and I'll kind of get it into a really tight ball. And since I'm using these herbs right away, actually I don't have to be too delicate with them. So a nice tight ball, roll it up a bit. And then with the tip of the knife, which is the sharpest point, you start shaving it. And you put your knife against the knuckles, or the knuckle of your middle finger. At least that's how I do it. Sometimes the middle finger and the index finger, the lowest knuckle. And you tuck your fingertips behind those knuckles, so it's impossible to cut yourself. If you do this, you'll never cut yourself again. I shouldn't say never, but the likelihood is very, very, very slim. So, kind of like a spider, I guess. That's tucked in like that, and then you just start shaving. And then with your right hand, I'm kind of rocking it. I'm starting with the tip, and as I move forward, I press down, kind of like a train, wheels going down the tracks, that circular elliptical motion. So it takes actually quite a bit of practice to build up your speed and confidence, but once you do, you'll be flying. I'm sure after like a few weeks or a month of practicing, you'll get the hang of it, but I used to shave herbs for hours and hours a day for months on end, so you get really good, really quick when you're working in a restaurant. Where did I put my hand towel? There it is. Okay. This is getting very close. Our zucchini is softening. Our vegetables are ready. So get this in our eggs. If you don't have fresh herbs, that's fine. You can use dry herbs or nothing at all. Just salt, pepper is fine. Whatever you really want. Okay, so eggs are mixed. We throw that straight into the pan, and I just like to shake it up a bit, make sure everything is distributed evenly. Yep, I think I lost something there. And then it starts to cook a bit, but most of the cooking is gonna happen in the oven. So you open up your oven, you just throw it on. I throw it on the top rack to get a bit of browning, but middle rack's fine too. There you go. So it should be done in, I'd say, 15 minutes. See you then. Alright, so welcome back. I think the frittata is pretty much done. Let me get my oven mitt. Oh yeah, it's perfect. So, as you can see, it's puffed up quite a bit. Nice and browned on the outside, and it looks great. It's a little probably too early to kind of get it out and have a bite, but since you're watching, I'm going to go ahead and start slicing into it. So my cast iron skillet is not seasoned super well, but it's pretty good, so you can see it's kind of releasing from the sides and hopefully from the bottom as well. And the good thing about cast iron or like carbon steel, any of these more like natural non-stick surfaces, is you don't need to worry too much about using metal utensils on them, since there's no like kind of chemical coating to damage. So yeah, just trying to release it, and I usually cut it into about 9 pieces for this size of skillet. Yeah, I'll cut right there. That might be a bit too big actually, so I'll do it in 12 pieces. And this way I'll do 3 cuts. Okay, looking good. Bring out my trusty, actually I'll use this one, probably easier to get out, and a plate. And I'll take this piece. Oh yeah, as you can see, it didn't stick at all, which means my skillet is nicely seasoned. Alright, so here's my finished frittata. Looks pretty good. Let's take a bite, get some eggs, some veggies. Really hot. Very good. Eggs are really nice and fluffy, well seasoned. Very good. So that's that. Give it a try.